What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but I would like to take a few seconds, and I know I say it all the time. I know I do. But thank you so much for your love, support, and time towards the channel, spending your precious time with me, liking the video, and becoming members as well is just absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm forever thankful for what you do. And let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a throwaway account, titled, "Am I the arsehole for cancelling my niece's college fund upon discovering what she's been doing to me and my wife for months?" My wife and I struggled with infertility for years. We're still trying more options, but we're beginning to lose hope. I have a 16-year-old niece that is like a daughter and a friend to me. Considering I'm doing well financially, I've decided to take care of her education and start a college fund so she could attend a college of her choice. My brother and his wife, my niece's stepmom, are of course aware of that, and they appreciate it very much. They always talk about what a generous, loving uncle I am, unlike my younger brother. I've been dealing with a series of unusual, unexplainable events, like receiving texts at work from someone pretending to be my wife, informing me of some big news like her being pregnant, or finding mysterious envelopes in my car when I'm at my parents', and the envelopes contain letters from someone also pretending to be my wife and again telling me she was pregnant. My wife and I had no idea who's been playing us like that. We knew it was someone close and had many that made our suspect list, including my brother-in-law. Last week I was visiting my brother's house and my car was parked in their driveway. I was sitting with my brother and sister-in-law, but my niece left for a few minutes then returned. I finished my coffee and said goodbye and left. While approaching my car, I noticed a sign on the windshield. I took a look and the sign read, "I'm pregnant," written largely. I was confused because I knew no one from this neighborhood and suspected someone who knew me did it. I called my wife and she again said this was false news. I took the sign and went back to my brother's house to help figure this out. He said someone must have left it on the wrong car, but I explained it happened before. He just shrugged, but sister-in-law pointed at the sign and said the writing looked similar to my niece's writing style. My brother told her to stop, but I called my niece to come downstairs and asked her. She denied but got nervous and admitted leaving the sign on my windshield, as well as sending and leaving letters and texts pretending to be my wife, but didn't have ill intent, just did it for laughs. I blew up telling her she was out of line to think mocking mine and my wife's suffering and playing us for months was funny. I said I was mad, I was disappointed and won't ever be looking at her the same. I informed her, my brother and sister-in-law, that I officially cancelled the college fund I started for her due to her cruelty and disrespect for us. She broke down, saying she meant no harm or disrespect and was just messing with or teasing me. My brother said I can't actually make this decision based on a small mistake my niece made. He said this is her future that I was giving up on and my decision will have a lasting impact. I cut the conversation and left after he tried to talk me out of giving her this harsh punishment. But to me, this was no punishment, just realizing she didn't deserve my hard-earned money. Brother said I exaggerated. He actually thinks punishing her by taking away electronics and having her do work around the house should be enough punishment, not cancelling the fund I started for her. But I already told him cancelling the fund was not a punishment, but a reaction from me upon finding out what she'd been doing for over 2 months. Also, she did apologize profoundly and said she regretted what she did, but still insisted she didn't do it out of hate or ill intention. She loves my wife and my wife loves her. I'm the closest to her in the whole family from when she was younger, and she's always said I'm like a second father to her. Now, we've seen a few of these stories where people like to play, well, they call them jokes. They're definitely not jokes. Let's get that out of the way straight away. They're definitely not jokes. That's just really, really cruel, knowing that you're suffering with infertility issues and then to play these so-called jokes on you. I try to work out what goes in people's heads when they're thinking, this is going to be hilarious. To send you texts, leave notes on your windshield. It sounds really evil to me. These ain't spur of the moment things she was doing. These were like planned things, calculated things that she was doing. And after the first time she did it, she must have seen the effects, but then continued to do it as well. And apparently she loves you. God, I would hate to be her enemy. Not the arsehole from me, I'm afraid, with Jeepers Creepers 74 saying not the arsehole, but it probably wouldn't hurt if you sent her a few mysterious texts that said you won a scholarship. Just for laughs. Bodacious Bonnie says not the arsehole, and your brother-in-law has no right to demand your money for anything. In what world would she believe this was funny? Why would she think that? Brother-in-law's immediate reaction of trying to shut down stepmom makes me think he was more aware of what was happening than he has been let on. Verminous Bow says, not the arsehole, put the money towards fertility treatments or whatever path you choose. Jeanette's replies to that saying this, not the arsehole, and you haven't stopped her from having a future. She can find a different way to pay for her college. Her father and stepmother can pay, and or she can get a job or take out loans. It will be a hard lesson for her to learn, but she did bring it on herself. I hope that it is a lesson she learns from. Sylvie's Domain says not the arsehole, your brother knew something, that much is obvious. I would consider a private conversation with just the niece to figure out exactly why she did this, how she got the idea, if anyone influenced this decision, etc. This is fishy. At the very least you need to explain why this is such a seriously cruel prank. It sounds like your brother won't. To which OP replied saying, thing is, my brother thinks punishing her by taking away electronics and having her do work around the house should be enough punishment, not cancelling the fund I started for her. But I already told him cancelling the fund was not a punishment but a reaction from me upon finding out what she's been doing for over 2 months. The Riker Maneuver says, $50 your niece has been documenting her disgusting behaviour online for fake internet points. I guarantee other people have been laughing at your pain. There's no way she would just randomly fuck with you all for no reason, especially when you're paying for her college. Totally not the arsehole, but understand there is no going back. You'll never have a relationship with this niece again, and your brother may never forgive you. So just go into this with open eyes so you know where this is headed. Now, what do you guys make of this story? Why do you think niece was doing it? I can't get my head around it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from another throwaway account titled, Am I the arsehole for taking back the money I promised my daughter for a trip after she refused to watch her younger siblings for the evening? My daughter Zoe, 17, has been planning a trip with her friends for weeks and asked for my wife's and my help with money. I promised her that I'll be paying for her part of the trip, which is about $80, from stuff she needs for the trip, food and other expenses. Zoe appreciated this a lot since she normally pays for trips and other fun things with her own money, but she left her summer job not too long ago. 2 days ago was my wife's and I wedding anniversary. We planned to go out and celebrate in the evening, and I asked Zoe if she could watch our younger siblings 3 and 9 while we're out. She said, sorry, I have plans for tonight. I asked her to elaborate, and she said she wanted to meet her best friend at a party before she leaves town, as her friend will be moving away this month. She suggested we get a babysitter, but it was already late for me to call and arrange for a babysitter. My wife suggested calling my sister, but my sister has enough on her plate to be watching our kids. I tried to convince Zoe to skip going out and watch her brothers, but she refused and said my wife and I could stay home and celebrate, but I told her we already reserved a table at a restaurant. I was getting pissed. I brought up the trip and I was paying for her and told her I will take the money back if she refused to watch her brothers for the evening. She said no, and I told her no trip then, unless she gets the money herself because I'm no longer paying for it. She screamed at me, calling me unbelievable for taking money back just because she wanted to attend her best friend's goodbye party and not wanting responsibility for her brothers. I refused to discuss it. I took the kids to my mother's house and left. My wife said I was too harsh on Zoe, especially since it's not her fault. She doesn't want to be responsible for her brothers for the evening. I was puzzled. I told her it's just one evening, but still my wife thought I punished Zoe over nothing by taking the money I promised for her trip. Zoe isn't speaking to me and is cold shouldering me because of this. Edit, I just checked the comments and some were asking why I notified her last minute. The answer is because I assumed she'd be home like usual, so I never thought of needing to get a sitter. Through all this, I was just thinking, well, this is all down to your poor planning that you didn't plan this in advance. Your anniversary happens every single year, so why didn't you plan this like weeks in advance and ask Zoe to, perhaps babysit for you? She doesn't have to either. To which she politely by the sounds of it said, sorry, I have plans for tonight, and then said a very reasonable, her friend is leaving town, so she's having a party, so she wants to go and see her for the last time she might see her in I don't know how long. So all the way through this, he was pretty much the arsehole to me all the way through, and even when you took the money away, it's just... And then we got to the edit, and then you said... The comments were asking you why you were notified last minute, and you said because you assumed she'd be home like usual, so I never thought of needing to get a sitter. And then you can get a slight glimpse into Zoe's life, that she's always being used as the babysitter, and you have little respect for her time and her own needs by the sounds of it, and she has to be the babysitter because she's home, and that's the way it kind of feels to me. And yes, you're absolutely the arsehole for that. And while it's nice, it sounds like Zoe does babysit sometimes, it's your responsibility as the parent to be getting, babysitters for your children if you want to go out. You brought them into this world, my friend. But hey, let's go to the comments to see what they say, with JDP Phoenix, who says, you're the arsehole, 2 points. Firstly, if the $80 gift card had strings attached, you ought to have made that clear from the onset. Introducing conditions retroactively sets the precedent that your gifts aren't really gifts at all, but tools used to manipulate and control. Secondly, you ought to have provided your daughter with sufficient notice so that she can plan her schedule. What you did shows that you have zero respect for her time, and that you expect unquestioning obedience from her. Easy to Kidnap says, and quotes, she suggested we get a babysitter, but it was already late. And then says, so it's too late to call a babysitter, but it's fine not to give your daughter any notice. You're the arsehole. Your daughter makes plans like you do and deserves some notice if you want her to babysit. Respect this. Tilathea says, your poor planning skills is not the fault of your daughter. She had plans and you acted like a child when dealing with her. You're the arsehole. Clearly you had other options because you took them to your mother's house. Chemical Parfait says, this is a joke, right? Yeah, you're the arsehole. Doesn't even sound like you asked in advance or tried to find a sitter at all. You waited until the last second when you felt she would have no option but to say yes. She called you on your shit and now you are pissed about it. And one more from Carbon, who says, absolutely 100% you're the arsehole. 1. Your daughter was not warned that the money for a trip came with strings attached, and frankly, there were no strings initially. 2. It's your fault you didn't think about childcare beforehand. Your daughter is not your babysitter on standby. Your anniversary was not an emergency. You had all the time in the world to make plans. 3. Your demand that your daughter prioritize her brothers is delusional. What you're trying to do is called parentification. They are your kids, which means they should be your priority, not hers. You are an unbelievable ass here. Apologize and double the money you promised your daughter to show that you are truly sorry and screwed up big time. Now, what do you guys make of this story? Do you have a different take on it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next one. Our next story is from Squidrow, titled, Am I the arsehole for saying I don't want to do gifts anymore with my family because they come with conditions that I only find about later? My parents have a habit of giving a gift, then later adding conditions on. I'll give a couple of examples. I got a gift card from the mall at Christmas, thought it was just a gift, but then weeks later, after I'd made plans of how to spend the money, sports gear, my parents said the first thing I needed to buy was school supplies for the spring, then I could use the rest on fun stuff. Then after I need to buy clothes for school to replace the clothes I thought were fine, but then I could spend the rest on myself. After they made me buy all that, nothing was left. I felt like all I got for Christmas was the hassle of being made to go out and buy things I don't want. When I get gifts for my birthday, my parents held it over my head, like to say that on a family vacation, I'd be the childcare for my siblings, nieces, and nephews, or else they'd take back the phone and hockey gear I got as a gift. When I asked for money for a school trip, my parents gave it to me and then told me a month later that I had to miss a game to help my dad with housework, to repay them for paying for the trip. I find it frustrating when a gift comes with secret conditions that I don't find out till weeks or months later. It feels less like a gift and more like a favour to call in later, or something to hold over my head. So when my birthday was coming up this year, my mum asked me what I wanted, and I said I'd rather skip gifts with the family. My mum asked me why, and I told her that I think gifts, at least the way our family has done them, are more stressful than nice. It seems like they treat gifts as something with conditions, but aren't clear what those conditions are when they're offering a gift. So it feels like it's signing a contract that I wasn't allowed to read when I accept a gift. I have no idea what I'll owe, and for the next few weeks or months I'll be waiting for the other shoe to drop. I told her I'd rather skip the family party and the gift giving and do something chill with my friends. My mum was upset with me saying stuff about tradition and how she doesn't do that, and that I was cherry picking frustrations when most gifts aren't like that. I said I felt like it was more often than not. She told my dad about the conversation and he was really upset with me, saying I was being ungrateful and that when I was living under his roof, there were going to be conditions. I can't just go and do whatever I want. I can't just go do whatever I want whenever. I said okay, but I'd rather not have those conditions be linked to gift giving and holidays because it makes holidays an unpleasant time for me. And that he can have rules, but he can't make anyone take a gift if they've decided they don't want to accept gifts. I was grounded for talking back like that. Am I the arsehole for having to hold my parents no birthday gifts? And there is some big similarities like from the last story in this one. Except this story is from the other side. And again, it's not the arsehole from me because they're using these gifts to control and manipulate you into doing what they want. Getting a gift card and then having to go and spend it on school supplies. Yeah. Sounds depressing, I've got to say. But we're going to go straight to the comments for this one. And we're going to start with Snooton8 who says, not the arsehole. If they insist on giving gifts anyway, just put them to the side. And when they give you the surprise condition, give them the gift back. It will happen. My in-laws were that way. King Shawarma says, not the arsehole. You got grounded because they were called out on their BS and they had nothing else to reply with. They retaliated instead. If you don't want gifts or parties, that's your choice. It's your birthday, and if they hold parties and gifts over your head as favours, they're more loan sharks than parents. AMCK476 says, not the arsehole. This is a complicated and I imagine very unpleasant thing to realise about your parents. They're using gifts as a leverage over you, and I don't blame you for a moment for calling them on it. They need to know the sort of expectations that they are creating. They've made you unable to accept a gift happily because they're always a price to pay later. In a lot of ways, they're not even gifts, I'd say. Unfortunately, the reaction you got was probably inevitable. I encourage you to stick to your guns. Hopefully they will realise they need to make some changes in how they approach gift giving. Now, like the last story, what would you do in this situation? Now it's from the other side. How would you handle it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and we'll move on to the next story. And our next story comes from Return Curry. Am I the arsehole for refusing to contact a restaurant about an unwanted curry? My girlfriend is making me feel fucking insane right now, so I need a reality check ASAP before I explode. My girlfriend came over to dinner at my apartment tonight and we ordered Thai. When we got it, there was a curry dish that neither of us ordered. I double checked the receipt and I wasn't charged for it, so I was like, sweet, free food. She told me I should call the restaurant and I said, fuck that, they're fuck up. Why should I spend a second thinking about it? And she said that the curry could be for someone else and that they could fix the mistake if I called. I told her that she was being ridiculous and that if someone didn't get their fucking curry, they could call the restaurant themselves and that it wasn't my problem. She got all pissy and said I had a moral obligation. I'm not kidding, those were her exact words used, moral obligation to let the restaurant know. I told her she had to be kidding, but if she wanted to call a restaurant, she was more than fucking welcome to. She obviously didn't do that because who the fuck would, and just sulked, ate quickly and left. I think she's off her effing rocker, but I'm here to ask the moral philosophers on this sub if informing the restaurant about an F up is actually a moral obligation. Quick answers preferred, because if I'm the arsehole, which I sincerely doubt I am, obviously, I'll apologise. Now, I'm going to come at this one from two sides. Absolutely not the arsehole about, keeping the curry dish. The restaurant wouldn't want it back. They're not going to come and collect the curry dish. I don't think they're even allowed to because it would just go in the bin anyway. They can't just take food from you, which has been in your house, in your possession, then go and give it to someone else. It's just not going to happen. So that would be free food anyway. And if she did see it as like a moral obligation, she was more than welcome to pick up the phone and tell the restaurant, hey, you gave us another dish, that might have been for someone else, just to let you know. That was totally on her if she wanted to do that. I don't think I would, but free food, a free curry of all things as well. But while she was talking about like a overreaction, over the moral obligation and her getting pissy and it was all sort of an overreaction, you clearly overreacted in this situation as well. Was all the effing and jeffing really necessary? And if it was done towards the girlfriend as well, because clearly she sulked, ate quickly and left, so something more went on here, and some of the language may have been used towards her in this situation, which would make it an everyone sucks here. You know, this is your partner who you supposedly love, and why would you were having a nice meal, why would you bring it down? There's no point in bringing it down, right? Just share the love. But there is a little update on this one, which we'll cover before we go to the comments. So the update says, last night, while I was in the middle of writing another defensive comment here, I realised how pathetic I was being. Arguing with strangers on the internet instead of actually being with my girl, who I love to death. I called her and apologised, told her she was right about the whole thing, and that I acted like a complete dick. She said she was sorry, and that she felt I had backed her into a corner with my initial reaction, and that she was just being stubborn. We're both stubborn people, so I completely get it. We laughed at the moral obligation comment, and that was it. We're all good now. And you may be all good, but we still gotta check out the comments with Jenny Lou who says, not the arsehole, the restaurant isn't going to ask for it back, they literally can't. When the customer missing the food mentions it, they remake them one. You're scored free food. Signed, a restaurant worker. Pax Para says, not the arsehole, but you sound super aggressive, and I hope you didn't swear at your girlfriend and declined the request more diplomatically. You don't come off as a very nice person, and if your response to this was as nasty as this post was, then I wouldn't have even stayed to finish the meal. I'd be straight out the door without second thought. Edit, thank you all for the awards, they are very pretty. Just to clarify, my vote is not the arsehole, because in regards to the am I the arsehole posed, he is the one in the right, while his girlfriend is less so. And in my opinion, that's how the vote should be cast. There's that point. However, OP is definitely the arsehole in every other conceivable way. And I desperately hope he reads this comment thread and others and makes an effort to be a nicer person going forward. Yes, it should be said, for the initial question, it's got to be a not the arsehole, but I'm still going with everyone sucks here. Snow White Sludge says, solely for how you spoke to her, you're the arsehole. I don't think you were obligated to call, it would have been courteous but not required. In regards to the restaurant piece, I wouldn't call you an arse. The way you describe speaking to this poor girl is appalling. You swore at her multiple times over an absolute non-issue, and you describe her as off her fucking rocker. These are not phrases adults use to describe people they respect or care about. Edit, thanks for the awards. For whoever reported me for being at risk, please take a look at yourself, you ding dong. Tell somebody that says everyone sucks here, you come across as super hostile here. Do you always get this worked up over a disagreement? I have a feeling her reaction and leaving was possibly also how you went about disagreeing. I don't think you're in the wrong for not calling, but she's not out of her fucking mind for thinking it's the right thing to do. And one more cheeky one from Old Stranger who says, you're not the arsehole for refusing to call a restaurant. Absolutely you're the arsehole for how you speak to about your girlfriend. The unnecessary aggro behaviour is gross, and I hope she dumps you. Anyway, what do you guys make of this story? Do you agree with any of the comments, or do you have your own take on it? Let me know your thoughts, verdicts on all of today's stories in the comments below, and a huge thank you once again for spending 20 minutes of your precious time with the channel. If you'd like to support the channel further, never any pressure to do so though, we're pretty chill here. Just click that join button down below for YouTube, or the link tree in the description, and joining up on Patreon. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for being involved today, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.